not a good day for coaches.
No.
The Knicks losing their coach.
That's right. And the Maryland Terrapins lost theirs, and the Colts lost theirs. It's not a very stable kind of job, But first, we'll start with on a happy note. The Bills' 22-game road losing streak finally came to an end yesterday, but as usual, there were a few scary moments along the way. Let's go to Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. We'll pick it up in the second quarter. Jim Kelly hits Andre Reed with a 9-yard touchdown pass. That gave the Bills a 10-7 halftime lead. In the second half now, Kelly finds Reed again. This time it's good from 10 yards out. Buffalo leads Kansas City 17-7. But then came the dreaded fourth quarter, the time when all Bills fans know that Buffalo will blow the lead. And that's almost what they did. Stephon Page makes a great catch, and that set the stage for this 1-yard touchdown run by Herman Hurd. The Chiefs trailed 17-14, and then more trouble. Jim Kelly spots Pete Metzelaars. Metzelaars makes the catch, but he fumbles the ball, and Kansas City recovers. But instead of folding, the Bills rose to the occasion. With a little over 4 minutes on the clock, Charles Romes wrestles the ball away from Stephon Page in the end zone, and that killed Kansas City's drive. With 19 seconds left, Nick Lowry's field goal could send it into overtime, but it's wide to the left. The Bills hold on to beat the Kansas City Chiefs 17-14. The Indianapolis Colts dropped their 13th game of the season yesterday with a 17-3 loss to the San Diego Chargers. So it didn't come as too much of a surprise today when the team announced that head coach Rob Dowhower has been fired. Dowhower, who led the team for less than 2 seasons, was replaced by former New England Patriots coach Ron Meyer. Pro Football Hall of Famer Bobby Lane died in Lubbock, Texas today. Lane, who led the Detroit Lions to 3 NFL championships in the 1950s, died of cardiac arrest after being hospitalized for several weeks. Bobby Ross has decided to pack it in at the University of Maryland. Ross resigned today as the head football coach effective January 14th. He led the Terrapins to an overall record of 39-19-1 in 5 seasons, as well as 3 consecutive Atlantic Coast Conference titles. And there is yet another coach out of a job today. The New York Knicks replaced head coach Hubie Brown with assistant Bob Hill. Brown was in his 5th season in New York, and despite the fact that the team was hard hit by injuries the last 2 years, most felt the Knicks would do well this season. Unfortunately, the team has been stranded near the bottom of the Eastern Conference all year.
The problem is getting them to understand that they can win. Our half-court execution, up until this point, have been taking all the stats on the sideline, so I know how our execution is, and it's been good in the half-court. We got to step up a little defensively, play a little more aggressive defensively, and we got to play together a little more on offense, but the plays we were running were fine.
The Syracuse Orangemen are ranked 17th in this week's AP College basketball poll, that after playing and winning just 1 game so far this season. North Carolina has the top spot. Second place went to Nevada, Las Vegas, followed by Indiana, Purdue, and Iowa. Kansas, Auburn, Alabama, Illinois, and Navy round out the top 10. The National Hockey League has suspended Chris Nyland for 3 games. The Montreal Canadiens' right wing was involved in a brawl as he was leaving the ice at the Boston Garden on November 20th. In addition to the suspension, the league has handed out over $14,000 in fines to the Bruins and Canadiens who were involved in the fight. In an offensive outburst, the Amerks scored 6 goals in the first period alone last night to beat the visiting Fredericton Express 8-4 out at the War Memorial. We'll pick it up early in the first period. The Amerks in white scored just 1 minute and 18 seconds into the game on the power play. Jimmy Jackson goes to Claude Verrette. He scores, giving Rochester the lead. The Amerks scored 36 seconds later, and just 20 seconds after that, Jimmy Jackson's shot is stopped, but he grabs the rebound and feeds Don Lever, so Rochester was up by 3. Fredericton got on the board a little bit later. Al Measure's shot hits the boards. John LeBlanc taps it in. The Express trailed 3-1. Then the Amerks quickly increased their lead. Bob Logan scored this unassisted goal. Then just halfway through the first period, Joe Reekie fires from the point. Jeff Parker on the rebound puts it past Richard Sevigny. The Amerks were on top 5-1. Now near the end of the period, Rochester leads 5-3. Don Lever fires from dead ahead. The Amerks win it. The final was 8-4. The Division III wrestling poll was released today, and Brockport State is right up there at the top. The Golden Eagles share the #1 slot with New Jersey's Montclair State. The team's next match is this Saturday at the Penn State Invitational. And finally, tonight we have these results in from Aqueduct. The late double was H&I. It paid $355.40. The trifecta came in I, K, and D. It was good for $456 even.
Okay, thanks, Ann.
You're welcome.
We'll be back right after this.
Football
Football fans like the action, the touchdowns, the cheers. In baseball, why, it's box scores and hot dogs and beer. Now, Diamond fans don't really like the umps. Basketball junkies, why, they go for the dunks. Hockey fans, that's easy. They like the fights. Fight fans, on the other hand, they go for the sights. Golf is the question, and I'm really not sure just what all these fans are doing out here. There are certainly no touchdowns, no box scores, few cheers. Still, golf has some action, hot dogs and beer. Now, golf's not your average spectator sport, and why they all flock here, that's what I'm here to report. What are you doing at the golf tournament today? Why are you here?
Why am I here? To watch the girls play golf.
Are you a big golf fan?
No, not really. I just come because I like to watch the girls play golf.
I'm trying to find out what I'm doing wrong with my swing.
You don't have to be in great shape and you can still have fun.
Because one of these days it's going to make me a great living.
I'm certainly beginning to see why they're here, but what brings them back year after year? Sir, why are you a golf fan?
I'm really not a golf fan. I'm a caddy master. I work here.
I think people like golf because it's a real gentleman's sport. It has nice people that surround it, nice surroundings. Primarily, you're in good weather. It's a gentleman's game.
Why are you a golf fan?
Well, for one, my husband loves golf, and I'm trying to understand why he likes to come here so much. Plus, he got us free tickets.
So I'll be part of the gallery, I'll scout every tee, and I'll report it all back to WROC TV.
And Montgomery is back from Florida. The grapefruit goddess returns all tanned. We missed you. Good to see
Tan?
you.
Well, I tried a few freckles, you know.
Yeah.
It was tough work. Someone had to do it.
Well, welcome back.
But first, it's opening day in the major leagues. Unfortunately, not a great start for the Baltimore Orioles. The Birds lost at home to the Cleveland Indians today, 6-4. Here's more on that story from Baltimore.
President Ronald Reagan was in Baltimore's Memorial Stadium to throw out the first pitch and officially start the 1986 baseball season. In the top of the first, the Indians' Andre Thornton with no score, a ground ball to short. The throw to third is in time, but on the play, Brett Butler comes in to score 1-0 Cleveland Indians. Top of the second, Cleveland leads 1-0. Mike Flanagan to Mel Hall, who sends a drive to deep right center field, back to the wall. Fred Lynn picks it up, but on the play, in to scores Tony Bernazard. Cleveland with a 2-0 lead over Baltimore. The Indians would add to their lead in the third with a base hit to left field by Brooke Jacoby. In to score is Julio Franco. Indians on top of the Orioles 6-4. I'm George Michael for NBC News.
Looking around the rest of the major league ballparks today in the American League, Detroit edged Boston 6-5. Chicago fell to Milwaukee 5-3, and in the National League, the Reds topped the Phillies 7-4, and in the seventh inning, the Dodgers lead the Padres 1-0. The Rochester Red Wings open their 1986 season this Friday in Richmond. Their home opener will be April 18th. That game is also with the Braves. The Wings are flying into this season with a positive outlook and a brand new manager. Here's a report from spring training.
We've got a runner at third base. The first baseman or the third baseman are playing back.
The Red Wings head into the 1985 season with a new man at the helm. He's John Hart, a veteran of the Orioles farm system. Hart is coming off 2 good years with Double-A Charlotte, and he says he's happy to be coming to Rochester.
Very excited. I think, you know, it's the kind of thing you move through the organization, and had coming off really 2 good years in Charlotte, and I've made every step, Bluefield, Hagerstown, Charlotte, throughout the system, so Rochester's the next step.
Hart has moved quickly through the Orioles organization. In 4 years, he climbed the ladder from rookie ball to Triple-A. There are many who feel that Hart is being groomed to replace Earl Weaver when he decides to retire to his tomato patch again. But Hart doesn't see it that way.
I really feel the Rochester situation was given to me because of the players that have played for me in the past and guys that have been successful, and you know, it's the next step. But as far as being groomed for anything, I think that's maybe on down the line a while.
Will this year's team be better than its 1985 predecessor? Hart thinks so. And it's the mixture of the players on the team that Hart says will make the difference.
I think we're going to have a good mixture of new players into the International League, guys that are going to be coming into Triple-A for the first time, which I'm looking as being very positive, mixed in with players that were there last year that are coming off of good years.
John Hart is excited about this year's team. He has no doubts that it can far exceed the output of the 1985 squad. So it should be a good year for Rochester fans. And John Hart isn't afraid to shoot for the stars.
championship, no question about it.
The Amherst lost a pointless game to the St. Catharines Saints last night. The Saints ended any hope Rochester had of making the playoffs on Saturday. They then beat the Amherst 6-5 in last night's final game of the season at the War Memorial with the Amherst in white. The Saints got on the board first at 7:17 of the first period. Rich Costello with a pass to Rod Shutt. He fakes the shot. Darren Pupil goes down. Shutt stuffs it in. 1-0 St. Catharines. And just over a minute later, Derek Laxdell behind the net. He passes out in front. Jeff Jackson puts it in, and the Amherst trailed by 2. Rochester got on the board at 12:56 of the first period. Paul Gardner will leave it for Jody Gage. Gage shoots on Alan Bester. The rebound goes to Paul Gardner. He flips it into the net for his 61st goal of the year. And just 47 seconds later, the Amherst tied the game. Ken Priestley tries to stuff it in. There's a pile up and the puck squirms loose. Warren Harper is there to finally put it in, but St. Catharines would go on to win it. The final was 6-5. Don't forget WrestleMania tonight.
All right, how can I forget it? Okay.
I'm excited.
Thanks, Ann. Fingerprints coming up. They could save lives.
What is it that draws fans to the ballpark? What is it they most want to see? Runs, home runs, 2 RBI singles, offense. It's the name of the game for the average spectator, and that's just where John Hart's '86 Red Wings should shine.
I think we have the kind of ball club that is capable of scoring runs. We've got a lot of left-handed power, I think, on this club with the addition of Mike Hart and Traber and Torvey, Kenny Smith, mixed in with some speed. I think we're going to have 2 or 3 guys in the lineup that can run, and so it's offensively. I think we're going to see some runs scored, and I think we're going to be able to run some bases a little bit better, maybe they've done in the past.
Last year, the Red Wings had some problems at the plate. Their team batting average was a not too inspiring .248. But this year, Rochester's bats are looking to improve things, and that should make it a lot more exciting for the fans. Tom O'Malley is one player who should light up the scoreboard this year. O'Malley hit .302 as a Red Wing last season. That was good for 5th in the International League and marks him as a candidate for this year's batting title.
Hopefully I can stay consistent and, things can fall into place. And, I feel that that's one thing that got me to big leagues was my hitting, and it's always been a big integral part of my game. And I've been successful in the past, and hopefully I can continue it.
There are other players who should put runs on the board for the Wings this year. First baseman Kelvin Torvey, a left-handed slugger who hit .290 in Charlotte last year and led the Southern Division in extra base hits with 54. Kelly Paris, the International League's all-star shortstop who knocked out 18 home runs and knocked in 67 RBIs as a Red Wing in '85. And utility man Mike Reddish, who played only half the season in Rochester and still put 13 home runs on the board. Hopefully, they'll all make John Hart's job a little bit easier.
I'd feel comfortable going out on a limb and saying we're going to score some runs. Well, you look all up and down our lineup, and right now I see a lot of punch.
Plays with the Blue Jays and Willie Upshaw, but when you get past that, I have trouble remembering who plays with the Blue Jays. And
perhaps the Blue Jays don't want anyone to know who they are. They don't have their last names on their jerseys.
You can name them by first